We're fearlessly talking about the biggest stories that matter to you the most. Breaking news, John Calipari is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the Arkansas Razorbacks' next head coach, covering college sports like no one else. The biggest guests in sports. We now welcome in Hall of Famer Jim Calhoun.
Such a pride I had, I came to connect.
The legend, Tim Tebow, joins us.
We'll run it back. I like it.
The legend, Herschel Walker. Welcome in, everybody. Saturday evening edition of the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody is having a great day. And my goodness, I hope everybody is ready for the reaction of all reactions to the game of all games. Final score, I don't even have the final score in front of me. Houston 70, Duke 67. Duke was up 14 points with 8 minutes to go, and they lost. I have no voice. I've been running around San Antonio, but I don't even know what to say. I'm not even being hyperbolic. Might have been the best college basketball game I've ever seen in my life. Might have been the best sporting event I've ever seen in my life. We're going to have full reaction as best as I can. I'm reacting 10 minutes after the game went final, so I'm trying to process all my thoughts. But we will have full reaction on Houston Duke. And then, oh, by the way, Walter Clayton just had a historic night for Florida. So we'll talk about Duke, Houston, Florida, and Auburn. I had a whole Duke, Florida first look segment ready to go. That one's going to hit the scrap heap. We will probably try to talk very quickly about Duke, Houston, Florida, but forgive me. We're processing a lot. We had the whole show built out, the graphics made, the rundown made. Duke's going to win. They're going to the Natty to play Florida. Yeah, not so much. Before we get started, a couple quick reminders. One, make sure you're subscribed to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. It's nights like tonight while you're subscribed. We're live everywhere. We're live here in San Antonio. We couldn't do this without you guys, so thank you for everything that you do. If you're not subscribed, though, as we close in on 54,000 subscribers, please make sure to do so. Make sure you're also subscribed on Apple, Spotify, the podcast, wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate your support. Speaking of support, BetUS TV, baby. I'll tell you what, BetUS TV sent us to San Antonio. Me, producer Matt, the mystery producer Matt's about 6 inches from me right now. If I reached out, if I did a Joseph Tugler, I would have hit him in the head. But BetUS TV has sent us here, and we are so grateful for BetUS TV and BetUSTV.com. Okay, listen, been working with them all March, been producing great content. We did the player trivia in the locker room earlier in the week, and now we are here to tell you that as college basketball wraps up and as all these other sports kind of ramp up, BetUS TV is the place that you need to be for all your sporting coverage. NBA playoffs, NFL draft, NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, BetUS TV. We are grateful to them. Check them out. The College Hoops guys are incredible. Corby, Jeff Nadeau, formerly of Barstool. They're going to be producing plenty of content on top of what we do here. So make sure that you're following, of course, BetUS TV. Finally, one last thing is the table shakes. I think they're Houston fans still rocking this building. SeatGeek, there's nothing else to say. It's the #1 ticketing app on the net, and they are giving out an incredible offer for just a couple more days for listeners of the Aaron Torres podcast. Okay, so if you want to, between now and the end of Monday, maybe you're a Houston fan that needs to get in the car and find tickets, this is the deal. SeatGeek.com, promo code Torres, SeatGeek.com, promo code Torres. They are going to give you $20 off your first purchase. Here's the cool part. Doesn't have to be the Final Four. Could be the women's Final Four. If you're a UConn fan watching, you're in Tampa, you want to go to the game tomorrow to watch them beat the Gamecocks. By the way, I did not like what Dawn Staley said about Paige Beckers. Another conversation for another day. Bring it up solely to say if you're a UConn fan, South Carolina fan wanting to go to the game in Tampa, if you want to go to a concert over the next day or two, if you want to go to the national championship game on Monday, come down, hang out with Torres, hang out with producer Matt. You can do it all via SeatGeek.com. Use promo code Torres. You get $20 off. SeatGeek.com, promo code Torres. With that said, there is no more time to waste. And I'll tell you what, let's get to The topic of the day, there has never been a day where the topic of the day has been more evident than on this episode. We will never have a more obvious topic of the day because final score from San Antonio in what I can only describe. I've covered every Final Four except for the bubble Final Four in 2021. I've been at every one since 2016. Been to a million great college basketball games. I think Houston 70, Duke 67 might be the greatest game that I have ever seen. We're going to break it all down. You all watched it. We have a lot of you watching live, but the bottom line is very simple. This might be the greatest game that I have ever personally seen, certainly that I've ever been. Listen, I'm telling you, we had all the graphics made. The whole show was built for a Duke win. The stats say it all. Duke was up 14 points with 8 minutes to go in this game. 14 points with 8 minutes to go. Houston closes on an 11-1 run. Duke made one field goal over the final 10 and a half minutes in this game, okay? I'm looking at it right now. Duke was up 59-45, 8:17 left in this game. Houston rallies to win. I'm going to just do my best to react in real time because, again, I don't – what do I say about what we just watched? By the way, drop your thoughts, drop your comments in the chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts is what we just watched, what we just saw, all of that. But, my goodness, Duke takes the early lead. Listen, first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, I sat there and said, I think Houston has them sped up. I think they have them a little bit shook. Then Duke pulls out to that big lead. Then LJ Cryer and Emmanuel Sharp, they bang home a couple big threes late in the first half. They cut that halftime lead to 6. But I'm telling you, second half, it was sort of back and forth, but honestly, not really, right? I mean, you go through and you look at this game. It was, listen, to Houston's credit, they did cut the lead at one point. Again, they were up 14 points with 8 minutes to go. I want to reemphasize that because it's insane. Up 59-45 with 8 minutes to go. They then proceed to cut the lead to 59-53 with 5 minutes to go. Duke then extends the lead back up to 66-59. So Duke has a 7-point lead. They have how about this? They have a 7-point lead after back-to-back Cooper Flag free throws with 1:26 to go. They then have on top of that a 6-point lead after, remember, the Joseph Tugler, whatever it was, I think it was a pseudo-technical, he reached over. They make one of two. They go up by 6 with 1:14 to go. Okay, again, Duke was up 14 with 8 minutes to go. Houston was up 6 with Duke was up 6 with 1:14 left with possession of the basketball, and they lost outright. Listen, we're going to have the debate. How much did Houston win? How much did Duke choke? But I am here to tell you it was an incredible finish. I think both can sort of be true. I don't want to undersell Houston, but they get the win. And what I would say is a couple things. First of all, I'll say this. Been covering college hoops for a long time. Been in a million Final Fours. I have never seen a celebration after I can't say that. San Diego State, Lamont Butler hit a buzzer beater, okay? But Houston, their fans must have stayed for about 20 minutes. Not a single one left. The entire student section wouldn't move. Me and producer Matt are going to have some great content from that student section for you over the course of the next couple days. And it's just like, it is unbelievable to me that they came back and won the game. Okay, so a couple thoughts. First of all, did Houston win? Did Duke lose? And I want to, before we even get to it, I do want to start, but let me start by saying this. The Cooper Flag foul, because I already see people, getting on me in the comments section. Duke's up at one. So Houston's up 67-69. Let's see here. Missed free throw. I'm doing this all in real time. The over-the-back foul call on Cooper Flag, okay? I thought it was a tough call. I thought it could go either way. I'll be real. I haven't seen enough replays. I'm going to see if I can pull one up very quickly here. But I just bring it up because when I look at that play, I want to see it again. Was Would Duke have had possession of the ball? I don't know. Let's take a quick look here. I got it too. Let me see here. It was questionable. Let me put it this way. The foul was questionable, okay? The foul was questionable given what they allowed to kind of go the entire game. It was something that easily could have it's something that easily they could have like not called. But the counter to that is two things. One, when you score one field goal in the final 10 and a half minutes, and oh, by the way, Houston was up when that ball went up. So the missed free throw leads to the over the back. But again, Houston was up by 1 in that moment. And so I just bring it up because even if the foul doesn't get called, Houston had the lead, and there was no guarantee that Duke would have gotten the ball back. So don't tell me that that's the reason that Duke won, that Duke lost that game. Listen, we were sitting right behind the Houston student section. I'm here to tell you, I think about 80% of the game, Houston fans felt like they were getting a raw whistle. And so to me, did Duke win? Did Houston take it? Did Duke lose it? I think it's a combination of both. But when I look at Houston, first of all, I'll tell you, one, the defense is real. The rebounding is real. They make you so uncomfortable. They force you into so much just out of your element. Again, they're diving on the floor. They're running. They're elbowing you. There was a great video, by the way, from the open practice on Friday that kind of came out over the last probably day or so. They were practicing a 1-on-3 rebounding drill. In other words, one guy's got to beat up 3 guys for the ball, but they make you play so fast. They make you play so nervous. And I thought actually early in the game, Duke, it looked like the speed caught them off guard. Then they caught up. Then as time went on, I think it wore them down. The fouls, they were certainly hard, but I just bring it up because late in the game, again, Duke was up. I took some notes here. And again, I'm just trying to do this all in real time. Duke was up 59-53 at one point, and on the same possession, Houston had 3 offensive fouls, okay, or 3 offensive rebounds, okay? And so I just bring it up because I thought by the end of the game, Duke was a little bit worn down, and the question to me becomes, did Houston just wear them down? Because like I said, when you shoot as a team, you don't make a single field goal for the final 10 and a half minutes of a game. I'm sorry. That's not on the refs. That's not on Houston. That is completely on that is completely on Houston making plays and Duke not. The other thing that really stands out about this game, a couple things. One, first of all, the rebounding margins. Look at the rebounding margins. Duke, what have we talked about with Duke for the last 3 weeks? They're the biggest. I think they're quite possibly the biggest team recorded in college basketball history. Every dude is 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". Malowatch is 7'2". Well, final rebounding tallies, I'm looking at them right now. Houston 42 rebounds, Duke 31. Houston with 18 offensive rebounds against a much bigger team. And so to me, it's just I look at this game and it was, I think, let me say this. I'm trying to just process this all in real time. Drop your comments. We're going to get to a bunch of comments. If there's any, there's good ones. If there's good ones, we'll get to them first. Nothing inappropriate, but if there's good ones, we will get to them. By the way, you want to throw a super chat so Torres can go out and, I'm going to get a hot tea for this throw. Maybe a cold something else, but super chats will be prioritized. Drop your comments in. But I just bring it up because when I look at the totality of this game, to me, I'll just say this, is that I think the game was played on Houston's terms. If there's one way to explain it, one way to describe it, Duke was a top 10 scoring team in all of college basketball this year, okay? Duke on the season, let me see if I can pull it up really quick. I just had the stats because I had it for my Florida Duke preview for Saturday or for Monday that will never be. But I just bring it up because let me see if I can find the stat. Duke averaged 90-plus points per game this year. I mean, and Houston holds them to 67. I'll say this. We shared this stat on Friday's show. I think I want to give credit to Matt Norlander from CBS. I think he had this stat that Houston was holding teams to an average of like 15 points below their season totals in games this year. Well, Duke, I think I said over 90. I'm sorry. It was 83. Duke got held to 70 in this game, so about 13 points lower than their point total. And so to me, why did Houston win this game? It wasn't the refs. It wasn't a foul call on Cooper Flagg. The game was dictated by Houston. And by the way, I think you know what it really was? It was exactly what we've talked about. As good as Duke is, were they going to have the toughness? Were they going to deal with the physicality? How were they going to handle everything that Houston threw at them? And the stats speak for themselves. 42 rebounds to 31 for Duke, plus 13, plus 11. Sorry, I'm just trying to do this all in real time without a voice here. Plus 13, plus 11 again in rebounds, 18 offensive rebounds. That's the difference in this game. And again, an 11-1 run with 74 seconds to go. I can't get over that and what I just saw. Again, I'm just going to go over it again. 14-point lead with just over 8 minutes to go. And then, oh, by the way, Duke was up 6 points with 1:14 left with possession and could not close it out. Producer Matt just pulled up this stat. According to one of the stats, Duke had a 92.3% chance of winning the game at about the 42-second mark. 92.3. It was an all-timer. And let me say this, too. Listen, Duke's going to be back. And by the way, I'm just throwing thoughts out here as we figure this all out in real time. Duke's going to be back. If you're a Houston Cougars fan, think about what a Houston Cougars fan has gone through. Kind of was really good in the 80s and everything. Don't win that natty in whatever, 82, 83, 84. You go to 3 straight Final Fours with Akeem, 2 with Drexler, etc. And I only bring it up, oh my goodness. Producer Matt just found the stat of the day. My guy, Kaman Malawach, who I've been raving about. Kaman Malawach, 7'2" starting center, finished with 0 rebounds. Houston was plus 11 in rebounding. This is, the gift and the curse of going live. I would love, and I don't mean this in a mean-spirited or condescending way. I would love to be in the Duke press conference just to try and figure out what went wrong for them, what they're saying, what they feel like needed to be fixed, like what went wrong. And it's just, I just can't believe what I watched. 2 more thoughts. I was getting to the Houston thought before I saw that Kaman Malawach had 0 rebounds and he's 7'2". Couple things. One, happy for Houston. I can still hear Houston fans chanting in the concourse right now. The game ended about a half an hour ago. Okay. So that's one. Happy for Houston fans. We were right behind the student section. I think they thought it was over. We all thought it was over. But you're in the AAC. You had 3 chances at a title in the 80s. You kind of became irrelevant there for a minute. Hate to say it, but it's the truth. And then think about this run with Sampson. 2021, make a Final Four. COVID, can't go, can't attend, can't be part of it. Last year, Jamal Shed, you go back, gets hurt against Duke in the Sweet 16. They probably make the Final Four that year as well. So now to have this comeback, it's unbelievable. Really quickly, a couple thoughts on the Duke perspective. And Matt, just give me a thumbs up, thumbs down if we have any interesting comments in the chat. I'll say this, we anointed Cooper Flagg, and it's a tough night for him, man, because he was so good in this game. 27 points. I mean, that's the crazy part. Cooper Flagg on the biggest stage against the most physical team that he will see in his college basketball career. Obviously, they ain't going to play defense like that in the NBA for him next year. I feel bad for the kid. 27 points was absolutely unbelievable. Couple big threes. By the way, had the big score and then the big block. And that was when I thought the game was over. When he had the 3 in the block with, let me see here if I can find it really quick. It was about, I think I want to say like about 2.5 minutes to go. So Cooper Flagg hit a 3 to go up 60. Cooper Flagg hit a 3 to go up 9 with 3 minutes to go, then had a block on the ensuing possession. And I really thought this was going to be his moment. It doesn't end up being that way. And I think it's kind of interesting at the end, finishes with the missed bank shot, finishes with the sketchy foul call. And I'll say this, I hate to say it. Cooper Flagg's career at Duke, listen, I'm not doing the negative Cooper Flagg thing. He was unbelievable. I was telling Bruce, I think he's right up there with Anthony Davis. Carmelo Anthony is the best freshman I've seen in college basketball. Certainly the most complete, does so many things. But, you go back and look. Remember the Kentucky game to start the year? Multiple turnovers in the final minute. Remember the Kansas game in Vegas that I was at? Turnovers late in the game. This game had some incredible moments. This is not to tear him down. Again, we're reacting in real time and just trying to think this thing through. But Cooper Flag finishing this game with the missed bank shot and the foul. It is what it is. We got our first super chat coming in. Andrew, thank you. Super chat $4.99. This Duke loss equal to 2015 Wisconsin, Kentucky. This could do long-term damage for the program just like it did for Kentucky. Thank you, Andrew. I'll tell you this, Andrew. This is what makes that crazy to me. 2015 is the only Final Four except for the COVID Final Four in 2021 that was in a bubble that I have not been. The 2015 was the last Final Four I did not go to before. I've been to everyone since 2016 except for 2020 when it was canceled and 2021 for COVID. And I only bring that up because, imagine that night, as crushing as it was, 38-1, sitting there saying that a decade later, you won't have gone back to a Final Four. It's like, I'm not saying it's going to take Duke 10 years, but who would have said it would take Kentucky 10 years ago? And the other thing, too, with Duke, first of all, even Duke, you only get so many chances with a team like this. And the one thing I will say, and I said this on Friday's show, I really like Jon Scheyer. If that makes me too pro Duke, whatever, I don't know what else there is to say. But I said this the other day. I said he's the anti-JJ Redick. JJ Redick is snarky, mean-spirited, thinks he knows everything. Jon Scheyer at the podium this week, every single thing he was giving credit to somebody else, his assistants, his players, the parents at Duke, the impact that they have had. And so I really like Jon Scheyer. But even at Duke, how many chances are you going to have? Because think about this. You have the clear number one player in the country. Like, as good as the recruits are you're going to get. Like, Cam Boozer's your number one guy next year. Cam Boozer might be the best player. Darren Peterson might be the best player. AJ DeBonsa, who I met tonight, by the way, might end up being the best player. You had the clear best player in college basketball this year. Okay, well, maybe Walter Clayton, maybe Janiber, but you get the point. Then, as we discussed, you built a near perfect team around them. 3 freshmen that are going to be top 10 picks, size, length, athleticism, skill, this, that, the other thing. You had those big guards. You had those veterans. You had guys that had been there 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, think about this. This is the last year of the 5th-year COVID waiver. So Mason Gillis and Sion James, who you got out of the portal, those are 2 5th-year guys that will never be available to you again. So I think it's a very interesting point for Andrew of Duke is going to be back, but you're just not going to have very many chances like this. Number one player in America, you're able to use the portal to bring in a couple veteran senior guys, a near perfect team built around the number one pick in the draft. And oh, by the way, on top of all of it, you had a 14-point lead with 8 minutes to go. You also had on top of it, what was it? Again, I'm losing all the numbers here, but you were up 6 with 1:12 to go. It's absolutely unbelievable. Producer Matt, we have any more questions here? Let's get to a couple of them. I don't want to stop talking Duke. Daryl Williams is bringing up a fascinating point. Matt, you think I can get 8 minutes out of this to clip this off as a standalone segment? Well, we're going to try. Daryl just brought up the point of, listen, I guess what I would say about this. So Daryl says the ACC didn't prepare Duke for tension, for the tense moments. Listen, I'm always try to be careful of not in real time. If there's a preconceived narrative of just deciding that narrative has to be true and that narrative has to be correct. And so did it not? I don't know. Listen, I don't think it certainly helped, but listen, I mean, Houston went 19-1 in the Big 12. So it's not like we could sit there and say, oh, like Houston, I think played certainly better teams, BYU, Arizona, Iowa State, Kansas, whatever. But I just bring it up because Houston went 19-1 in the league as well. They weren't. I should mention Texas Tech as well. But I don't know. Houston ran through the Big 12, and so I think part of it too. Listen, part of it is just Houston's really good. Houston now 35-4. The stats that we keep putting out, they've lost one game since Thanksgiving week. They went to Vegas. They lost to Auburn in the first week of the season. They lost those 2 games in the Vegas tournament, San Diego State and Alabama. They have not lost. They've lost 1 game since November. That was to Texas Tech. And oh, by the way, of their 4 losses, 3 were in overtime. So I know we all wanted to anoint Duke this historically great team. Why isn't Houston a historically great team? I know they don't have a bunch of NBA players, but I mean, what they are doing in the league that they did it in is literally unprecedented. As a matter of fact, I know it's unprecedented. We just saw Brett Yormark walking over to do our show. I should have tried to grab him, get him on the show. I bet he would have had a lot to say. But Brett Yormark's the Big 12 commissioner. They went to 20 league games this year. This was the first year they did it, and they're actually going back to 18 league games. So Houston just set a record that may never be broken with 19 league wins. So I think part of it is Houston's just really good, but I think they certainly have been in those tense moments. And I do also think that from the Duke perspective, I will say, I don't think that beating everybody by 30 was a good thing for them. But the counter to that is, they beat Arizona by 7 in the Sweet 16, and they destroyed Alabama. So it's like you can say that they weren't in these close games, but they weren't close. Part of it was because Duke was good, and they did that to a lot of people too. They did that to even good teams. They beat them by a bunch. They dominated Louisville in the second half of the ACC championship game. So I think there's something to it, Daryl. I'm not dismissing the statement, but I think some of it is we have to give Houston a little bit of credit as well. Producer Matt, let's keep the conversation going. Find me some good ones, baby. I'm just in shock. Peanut Butter Posse. Oh, I get the sense he's not a Duke fan. I get the sense that he's rubbing it in. He says, will Cooper Flagg come back to school now that he's choked? Listen, I've been at the forefront of one day a Cooper Flagg type talent will come back to college basketball. I don't think he's coming. I think Joe Tipton can start getting the graphic ready on that when he's going pro. It's tough. I don't want to be the guy. Listen, one thing I never want to be is the overreactionary guy. I know there's some guys in my business that will just go all in on a dude no matter what. You know who they are. You know who their targets are. Cooper Flagg had both an incredible game and a very forgettable last probably, 90 seconds to 2 minutes in this game. I keep going back to it. I'm sorry I keep saying it. 14 points with 8 minutes to go. They were up 6 with 1:14 in the ball, and Houston came back and won. I'll tell you this. We're going to share some videos on social. I don't think I've ever seen a celebration for like that in the early part in the semifinal. I can't believe what I just saw, man. It was just unbelievable. Let me browse through the chat here. Let's see here. Freshman teams ain't going to win anymore. It'll be interesting. I mean, it'll be, listen, I'll say this. I spoke on that NIL panel on Friday, and we were talking about recruiting. I was on a panel with Joe Tipton and Adam Finkelstein, both recruiting guys. And I only bring it up because we talked about how recruiting has changed over the course of the last couple years and how it's so much harder for high school players. But the counter to that is now, with all the fifth-year seniors going out, I think that's part of the reason there's so much panic in the portal right now is because of the fact that, like, the reason that there's panic in the portal is because there's just not going to be as many good older players available. And again, we'll talk about more portal stuff probably on Sunday's show, but whether you're Kentucky, whether you're BYU needs some pieces, Auburn's going to need a whole new team, Tennessee's going to need a whole new team, Houston's going to need a lot of guys too. And so, I think it's going to go skew back a little bit more, but I will say history does tell you, Duke 2015, Kentucky 2012, they're the only teams that have relied heavily on veterans, and Duke couldn't pull it off tonight. But again, to say that it's this freshman thing, or it takes away from what Houston did and what Houston is. Again, Houston dictated the terms of that game. Duke averaged 83 points a game coming in. They scored 67. Duke had one field goal over the final 10 and a half minutes. They had one. They were out rebounded by 11. Houston had 18 offensive rebounds. By the way, producer Matt and I were right behind that basket where Sion James, and I'm not blaming him, kept trying to inbound the ball and couldn't, and was turning it over. The Malik Wilson missed, the Joseph Tugler putback. I mean, Houston's just really good. They're really physical. I mean, listen, think about Houston. We're talking about, and maybe I'm guilty of this too. We spent so much time this week talking about Alabama getting destroyed by Duke in the Elite Eight, that statement win for Duke. We probably did not talk enough about Houston destroying Tennessee in the manner that they did. So credit to Houston, those Cougs. A few weeks ago, I was Cougar crazy for BYU. Now I'm a little Cougar crazy for Houston, man. What a game. What a game. Let me browse, and then we'll get to that last question, man. Let me see if there's anything else I can hit on. I cannot believe, man. Oh, people are arguing in the chat about the foul call. It was a BS call. Okay, so people are on. Let's go back to the Cooper flag thing. People are calling it a BS call, and that's coming from a Kentucky fan, says JJ Sneed. JJ, I love you. It may have been a BS call. It may have been a BS call, but guess what? Houston was up when it happened. Tyrese Proctor missed a free throw that would have tied the game, and there's no guarantee that if they don't call it, that Duke gets the ball back. And so it's not why they lost the game. The reason they lost the game is because they had one field goal in the final 10 and a half minutes, okay? The reason they lost the game is because they could not inbound the ball late when they had to. They couldn't do it cleanly. They had to use timeouts. They had the turnover that led to the missed three, the Joseph Tugler dunk. Like, you know, I think we as fans have to separate, like, okay, we have to separate a bad call from the reason that Duke lost the game. And oh, by the way, even after the call, Duke was up 3, or Houston was up 3 after that call. Even if you decide that that's a bad call, Houston was up 3 at that point. And so Duke had a chance to cut the lead. They ran an ISO for Cooper Flag. He missed a bank shot. So it's not why they lost the game. I'm sorry, it's just not, and I refuse to believe that it is. Let me see really quickly. Just any other thing else. We got some wild comments. People are Steven Strong. Houston is definitely on another level. Listen, they're really good. They were let's say this. They were my preseason pick to win the Natty. They were my postseason bracket pick to win the Natty. So I'm just saying, is like, they brought back 4 starters from a team last year that won the Big 12 regular season, was a number 1 seed, and would have gone to, I'm not trying to take away an Elite 8 appearance from Duke. They would have gone to the Final Four last year if Jamal Shead doesn't get hurt. I don't want to say they very likely would have. They were in control of the Duke game. Jamal Shead goes down with the injury, and then they would have played NC State to go to a Final Four. Okay. So they would have gone to a Final Four last year. They're on another level. They brought back 4 starters off that year's team. And again, I think the thing is, whatever you think of Duke, they dictated the terms of this game. Let's get to a couple other ones, and then we'll get to the transition because we got to get to Walter Clayton as well. Michael Prickett. Listen, I'm just going to say it. If you're with children, cover their ears. Michael Prickett said, Houston took that shit. Houston took that shit. They sure freaking did, Michael Pritchett. They sure freaking did. Interesting comment from Brandon Johnson, The 2 best conferences playing for the national championship. Big 12 regular season and conference tournament champ Houston playing Florida, which of course was the SEC tournament champ. And while they weren't the SEC regular season champ, they did beat Auburn in their only game. Let's keep it going. Florida will be the national champion. We might save, by the way, Matt, just so you know, we might not do the look ahead because I have no notes for that. Let's see here. So I was thinking about this. So Mike Jones knows recruiting, by the way. He drops in crazy recruiting nuggets that always end up being true. I don't know who you are, Mike Jones, but shoot me a DM, bro, because you got all the scoop. But he said Shire can't coach. I will say, I do think it's interesting to the earlier point about the Big 12 or the ACC not preparing Duke. It is interesting that in all 3, basically, they played 4 close games. All 4 games that they lost could have gone the other way. In 3 of them, they didn't get a really good look, and it was Cooper Flag ISO. It was Cooper Flag ISO against Duke. It was Cooper Flag ISO against Kansas. It's amazing how the season sometimes comes full circle. That was Duke's problem the first night of this. It wasn't the first. It was the first big game of the season against Kentucky. It was a problem against Kansas, and it was a problem against Houston on Saturday night. Cannot believe what I just saw. Let me see. Punctuator says what we're all thinking. I gave up on the Houston in the last minute. I'm in shock. I can't believe Houston won. My man, I can't believe either. Oh, my goodness. Some of these comments. Oh, was this it, producer Matt? All right. Ghostface Wright says, I haven't seen a guard dominate the tournament like Walter Clayton. I haven't seen a guard dominate the tournament like Walter Clayton since Kemba Walker of UConn. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back. When we do, producer Matt, let's play file back here, by the way, okay? When we do, Walter Clayton, is he the modern day Kemba Walker? We're going to discuss that next. Quick break. Be right back. What's up, everybody? It's AT, and listen, long day of podcasting. Sometimes don't always look the best. So look at this. It's a little bit not great, okay? Well, here is the great news. The great people at Firebox said, Torres, you're a professional. You just got 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. You need to look better. And so they sent me a couple awesome things. I want to pull them out for you right now. This is all from the winter collection, by the way. Spring collection is coming out. We got the vest, very, very, very nice. The sweater, very professional for when I go to professional events. We got these nice blue jeans. I think the question now everybody's asking is, Torres, how do you actually look when you put that stuff on? Let's find out. Well, what do you think? Sweater fits perfectly. Great for all occasions, when I go to games, when I go out to a dinner, warm weather, cool weather, it's perfect. Speaking of perfect, these jeans are phenomenal. Great for games, great for social events. Oh, by the way, a little bit stretchy if those New Year's resolutions aren't going on as planned. Really quickly, we got to try out. Let's try out the vest. It fits perfectly, not a surprise. So here's the deal. If you want to look as good as Torres, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go to Fioboc.com. That's F-I-O-B-O-C. Fioboc.com. And here's the best part. For listeners to the Aaron Torres pod, you get 20% off with code Torres20 at checkout. We will also put a referral link in all of our YouTube videos. Thank you to Fioboc. By the way, make sure you're following them on social media at F-I-O-B-O-C. Thank you to Fioboc. You want to look as good as Torres, check them out. Again, promo code Torres. All right, everybody. I'm back. Good to be back. So we will get to the second game in a minute. First of all, I want to say this. Puck Rogers says, I would love to put my bracket up against Aaron's. Listen, I got Houston winning the Natty. Everywhere else, you probably got me, though. I had Houston playing Auburn, and I had St. John's and Bama in the Final Four. So, Puck Roger, you probably got me. You know what else I got? This time, right now in Houston, you know what I need? I need a snack. I've been out late. I've been being a little irresponsible. You can hear it in my voice. And you know what? When I get home, I need to start eating healthy. I need to make some new life choices in general, but I mostly need to eat healthy. And I need a snack that's both healthy but delicious. My people, I need to get some Collie Puffs and colliepuffs.com, okay? So I've told you all about Collie Puffs, okay? Family-owned company, not far from where I live. Joey, a big sports fan. He was actually in my bracket survivor pool. Shout out to whoever's winning that because I am out. But Joey's a sports fan. And he was sitting on the couch one day watching a game. And he said to himself, I need some, I'm getting a little whatever. I need a snack that's healthy and delicious while I watch all these games. I need something my kids are going to love. I need something that I'm going to love. That, my friends, is where Collie Puffs comes in. Baked, not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients, but they taste freaking delicious as well, okay? So what you need to do, you need to try them out for yourself. Maybe you're a Duke fan. You need something to snack on while you sit around on Monday night with nothing to do. Go to colliepuffs.com, CAULIPUFFS.com, colliepuffs.com, colliepuffs.com. Can also get them on Amazon.com. Plenty available there. Just search Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com. Thank you to Collie Puffs, our partner here on the Aaron Torres pod. All right, with that said, let's switch gears. Let's get to the early game, and let's get to the king of college basketball right now, okay? So the early game, it was Auburn. It was Florida. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, it was certainly an interesting game. We're going to talk about all the dynamics in a minute. But if you really want to get down to why did Auburn win that game and why did Auburn lose that game, why did Florida win it, it's 4 words. Walter freaking Clayton Jr. 34 points for Walter Clayton Jr. as the Florida Gators beat the Auburn Tigers. Final score 79-73. Florida, we now know, will play Houston in the championship game. So let's go ahead and dive in. First of all, fun game from the start. Auburn jumps out to the 6-point halftime lead. I think the thing that stood out early, I had all the stats in front of me earlier, I don't know if I still have them, is that Auburn really kind of got what they want offensively early. points in the paint. They had they were up again 6. They were up 8 at the half, 46-38. And they had in that first half, they had a total of 26 points in the paint. Okay. So they're completely dominating. But second half starts, Florida comes out. They immediately go on a 13-3 run. I did have that producer. That was the only stat I got because whatever. Go on a 13-3 run. And you're like, oh, this is going to be a game. And it was game, sort of, but it really wasn't. Reason Florida won was two things. We're going to get back to Clayton in a minute. First thing was the defense. Listen, one thing I don't claim to be is scheme guy. I hate these guys that didn't play, these writers, these big J's. You know who they are. I heard one of them in the bathroom today talking about, well, they need to run more cross screens for. No, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. I don't know what Florida did to hold Auburn from 41 points in the first half to 27. The fact Auburn only scored 12 points in the first 12 minutes of the first half. I don't know all the details, but what I do know is that Florida was a completely different team defensively in the second half. Auburn, I think the big thing, I feel bad for Auburn. We'll talk about the Auburn side of things in a second. But with Auburn, it was the turnovers. Auburn had 2 turnovers in the first half. They scored, not surprisingly, they scored 46 points. They then proceeded to have 12 turnovers in the second half. And that was one of the 2 differences. The other difference, it was Walter Clayton. The guy is unbelievable. You're unbelievable. I don't know if that's copyright infringement. Okay. Walter Clayton, 34 points. I mean, what's crazy about Walter Clayton, first of all, let's just get to the stats. 34 points, 5 of 8 from 3. By the way, off those 16 turnovers, Florida did finish with 16 points off those 16 turnovers. But back to Walter Clayton. 34 points, 5 of 8 from 3. By the way, now that he's gone, I'm glad that guy behind me who was like changing behind me is gone. 5 of 8 from 3. 7 of 7 from the free throw line. And every single time they needed a play, Walter Clayton came through. As a matter of fact, I saw what is maybe one of the most incredible stats that I have ever seen from a college basketball game. Besides Duke blowing a 14-point lead with 8 minutes to go, the stat was this. Producer Matt, pop up the tweet. Great stat from Jeff Borzello, really from ESPN Stats and Info working together. Borzello's awesome. Put this out. He said via Stats and Info, ESPN Stats and Info, Walter Clayton, how about this? The first player to go back-to-back 30-point games in the Elite Eight and the national semifinals since Larry Bird in 1979. Let me say that again so it can sink in. Walter Clayton Jr., the first player since Larry Bird to go for 30-plus points in the Elite Eight and then the first game of a Final Four, the national semifinal, okay? And so I just bring it up because when I look at what Walter Clayton is doing, I'm going to say something that as a UConn fan, I never thought I would say. And that is very simply this. Walter Clayton, listen, he's still got to win one more game. But I thought what Kemba Walker did in March of 2011 and April of 2011 was unlike anything I had ever seen at the time. Now, part of that was the Big East tournament where Kemba Walker led UConn to 5 wins in 5 days, followed by 6 wins in the NCAA tournament. But just put that team on his back. Wins a national championship. Shabazz Napier puts UConn on his back as a 7 seed in 2014 and wins a national championship. What Walter Clayton is doing is the closest thing that we've seen to any of them. And I'm always, I just said it. I say it all the time. I'm always hesitant to try to elevate the present to diminish the past, okay? I think Cooper Flagg's a really good freshman. I'm trying not to be in the moment and appreciate what Carmelo Anthony did, what Anthony Davis did, what this guy did, what that guy did. And it's the same with Walter Clayton. I'm trying not to put him on any sort of NCAA tournament Mount Rushmore, but if the Florida Gators somehow win the NCAA title, when I say somehow, it's obviously certainly possible, but if Florida does it, this is one of the great tournament runs that we have ever seen via Walter Clayton. Walter Clayton, Listen, remember that Jim Boeheim quote about Jerry McNamara, 2006? We wouldn't have won 10 effing games without Jerry McNamara. Well, Florida would have won 10 effing games without Walter Clayton. I'll tell you what, though, they wouldn't be in the Final Four. How about this? They wouldn't be in the Sweet 16 without Walter Clayton. Go back to that game against UConn. I'm not saying it as a UConn guy. UConn had him beat. Walter Clayton, 13 points in the final 8 minutes, wins that game. Walter Clayton, on top of it, against Texas Tech, those 2 dagger threes. What was the stat? Texas Tech was up 9 with 2 minutes and about 40 seconds. I think it was a little over 2 minutes to go. They were up 9, and they come back and win thanks to Walter Clayton. And so now, 34 points in the biggest stage. As I said, the thing that stands out too is just the efficiency with what, you know what, it's that what really stood out. I didn't get a chance to go to Todd Golden's press conference today, is nothing's forced. That's the incredible part. And you know, you being in the stadium, I don't know if it showed up on TV, but being in the stadium, Walter Clayton, Miles Kelly was the primary defender on him, 6'5", 6'6". Miles Kelly was basically defending him 94 feet through the court. Not like 94 feet. There were times where Miles Kelly wasn't even looking at the ball. He was just chasing around Walter Clayton, okay? And so I only bring it up to very simply say that he didn't force it. He didn't rush it. He didn't try to do too much. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's an obvious answer. I can't think of a moment where I was like, oh, that was kind of a bad shot. Oh, why did he do that? Oh, he shouldn't have done that. Oh, he had the open guy. But he doesn't. He doesn't force it. He doesn't rush it. And he just is his best in the biggest games. That UConn game to go to the Sweet 16, 62% from the three-point line. That's the same as what he had against Auburn on Saturday night. And so, again, you got to win one more for us to start calling you as good as Kemba Walker, as good as Shabazz. I mean, but it's got to be. I'm a little young for Danny Manning, so whatever. But at the same time, that's as good of a performance as I have ever seen on that stage. And it's just getting better and better and better and better. I don't know what else there is to say. Walter Clayton's unbelievable. 34 points on Saturday night. First guy to go for 30-plus in an Elite Eight in a national semifinal game since Larry Bird in 1979. 34 on Saturday. The guy is unbelievable. All right, we'll take one more break, and what we will do is we'll get to some last-minute questions, and then I'll just share some thoughts on Florida, Houston. Listen, I had a full segment ready to go on Florida versus Duke, and that got blown up. So we'll just have some quick thoughts, probably less than 10 minutes of content, honestly. Quick break. Be right back. All right, we're going to get back to the show in a minute, but before we do, many of you ask me all the time, Torres, what can I do to help support the show? You give me hours and hours and hours of content every single week. What can I do to help you? Well, I'll tell you what. Do me a quick favor. Check out the Aaron Torres Media merchandise store for all of your team-specific shirts, hats, and more. All available at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. A lot of you wondering, Torres, what can I get in that merch store? Well, first of all, we got our brand new Hope and Pope Kentucky basketball t-shirts. That's right. Mark Pope has arrived. He is here to save the day. Get your Hope and Pope t-shirts there. Also, Arkansas fans, the Big Pig Invasion is here. You can get your tees there. Basketball School Alabama shirts. Mora Hurley 2024 UConn shirts for your tailgates at Rentschler Field, your games at the XL Center or Gamble. And oh, by the way, your Mike effing Woodson gear for Indiana. If you love football, we got you covered too. We got more Dion shirts and hats than we even know what to do with. The freeze warning has hit the plains. Auburn fans, grab your freeze warning tees now. And of course, our new era, new rules shirt applies to Nebraska football and its incredible fan base. We have more coming for the fall, plenty in stock right now. So make sure to check out the Aaron Torres Media merch store at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. And you can always hit me up with any questions. Aaron Torres Podcast. All right, everybody. I am back. Good to be back. So let's go ahead and wrap the show. let's go ahead and wrap the show here really quickly, by the way. Shout out to George Wallace, who says, Torres, I'm jealous. The last Final Four I went to was Shire, was a player for Duke and beat Butler. I was hoping my John Wall Cats were going there, but had to watch that crap. Listen, if it makes you feel any better, my stepdad one time bought some. It was actually a Final Four in Indianapolis as well. That John Shire Final Four in 2010 was there. 2006, my stepdad bought tickets to watch UConn months in advance. George Mason gets there instead. Yeah. Let's take a look here. There was one other thing I wanted to. Mr. Nobody's somehow is a UConn fan. As UConn fans, we have no reason to complain. No, we don't. We don't. UConn, by the way, we might do a Terrace Reed segment on Sunday show because he's back, baby. UConn's good. All right. Last couple minutes. I'll be real. Listen, I was going to do a full segment on Duke versus Florida. I have the notes written out. The way that Houston game ended, I don't have a lot of good stuff to give you. But they will play Monday night in San Antonio. What time? About probably 9 or so Eastern time. And 8:50. That's right. They moved it up this year. Okay, so 8:50 Eastern, 7:50 Central. So we'll get out of here 10 minutes earlier, man. I think it's just gonna be a great game. I mean, I think the big thing, the only two things that stand out. I don't have a segment. I'm sorry. Two things that stand out. One, Florida's length against Houston. I think it could be an issue. But I thought it would be an issue for Duke against Houston. For Houston against Duke is probably the right way to put it. And Houston beat them. Houston out-rebounded them by 11. And Houston won. So we'll see what happens. I think, there's a comment about Thomas Hawk needs to play better. I agree. I actually thought, really, if you actually look at the Florida win on Saturday night, that that I don't really think anybody played like amazingly well except for Walter Clayton. I thought the big guys kind of missed some shots around the rim. And if you miss shots around the rim against Houston, you better be ready because you're gonna have a bunch of bodies on you. Alex Condon, 1.4 rebounds in 23 minutes of this game. Chinyelu doesn't play a ton, had 5.69 boards. He's tough. Thomas Hawk played okay tonight, 12.7 rebounds. I guess he's probably the closest thing to somebody that played well. So one, does the length become an issue against Houston? I'll give you a third factor, by the way. Number two is obviously what does Houston do with Walter Clayton? They're physical with everybody, but listen, Walter Clayton, UConn was physical with him. He figured it out. Texas Tech was physical. He figured it out. What's it called? Look at this guy right here. Unbelievable. Does this guy not know I'm doing a show? Producer Matt and I's buddies are hitting us up to come out. We got a show to do here, people. Yeah. So I think one is the shooting. One is the defense. Two is the three-point shooting and Walter Clayton. Three, the last thing I'll say, I'm genuinely curious what kind of crowd Houston has. I would say of the four teams that were here today, Florida had, I would actually say by far the fewest fans. I would say Auburn, Duke, Houston, probably 1, 2, 3. But Houston, by the end, you could see they actually had a lot of people in this building. So I'll be curious to see what kind of crowd Houston brings. Obviously, it's not a terrible drive. How many people were maybe waiting until Monday to make their ticket purchases, whatever. I'll tell you what, I got nothing else on that game. So if there's any last-minute questions, other than that, I think we'll just probably get out of here. I could do post-game for 2 hours. I still can't believe what we witnessed here in this game as Houston, I've said it 30,000 times, but they get the win, unbelievable fashion. Again, 14 points with 8 minutes to go. 6 points with 1:20 to go. Duke was ahead, and Houston comes back and wins the game, and Walter Clayton was unbelievable. So you got a show. I'll tell you what, you got your money's worth, whether you paid crazy amounts of money to get tickets to these games, or if you also we're watching on TV and he paid for free. Tell you what, I think we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Couple things. One, by the way, no, I'm not going to do it. I had a portal segment on Saturday morning that I did about Yaxel Lendenberg. I was going to add it to the end of this podcast, but this podcast is already an hour long. So if you missed that, Jalen Lowe, I think I'm blanking on the kid's name that committed to Kentucky today. We talked about that. Go back and watch it on YouTube. This will be on the podcast and, of course, the YouTube feed as well. By the way, thank you to the thousands of you who joined this live chat throughout the evening. Just unbelievable night. Jalan Lowe, by the way, was the kid's name. I'm sorry. I've been talking for an hour and a half straight. And I just saw the greatest college basketball game I've maybe ever seen. So if you're not subscribed to the show, make sure to do so. Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Music, wherever you get your podcast, make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure to rate and review the show. Go ahead, give us a quick 5 stars. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, all that good stuff. Make sure you're following on social media at Aaron_Torres on Twitter, at Aaron Torres Pod on Instagram, Aaron Torres Podcast Questions at gmail.com, Aaron Torres Podcast Questions at gmail.com. All for today's show. Appreciate your support. We will be back soon. Shout out to Torrin Craig. Shout out to Rachel, who hates my voice. Shout out to JJ Reddick. You F-head, unblock me, bro. What a night. We'll be back Sunday night, undisclosed location, Aaron Torres Pod. We'll do some portal stuff then, by the way. Terrace Reed coming back to UConn, all that. See y'all then.